Welcome to Green Mango Finance, a personal finance podcast for immigrants by immigrants. We are your co hosts, Shreya and Kunal, and we are both immigrants from India. So we are constantly thinking about how to make the journey back home in luxury, in style. And one of the ways to make it really classy is to fly the Queen of the Sky, the Qatar business class, or more commonly called the Q Suites. Now, I have booked it for five of my family members, but somehow it is ever elusive to me, so I don't have great authority in talking about Q Suites. I know Kunal has also not been able to fly it so far. So, for this episode, we decided to bring in somebody who has absolute authority on this. He's called the King of QSuites. And in this episode, we sat down with him, Krunal Maheshwari, to talk all things Q Suites. How he earns enough points to be flying Q Suites every other weekend, and how he actually finds the award space to fly himself or his mom over the ocean. So let's get to it.
Today we have someone who practically lives in Q Suites. If he is not in a flight, then he is somewhere in the corner of the airport taking pictures of those planes from outside. So he is an av geek. Pranal, I also know about you that you are either flying or booking flights and you sleep like a baby on the plane. That's what I know from following you on Instagram. But take us to the time when you first landed in the US.
Awesome. First of all, thank you, Shreya and Kunal, for that amazing intro. Specifically mentioning the part like I sleep like a baby on plane. Yes, true. I don't know if they have more oxygen on plane, but you get enough air specifically. And yes, the mattress, the blanket, and everything is definitely comfortable for me. So yes, I enjoy that. And QSuite, as Shreya mentioned, yes, so far was best business class because of the hard products, soft product, and everything. Now going back to the journey, so I came to North America on August 15, 2016. So this August will be 10 years. I completed my master's in computer science and graduated from the UT. And then after that, I started working in IT industry and started first paying my loan off. And once I did that, now I have a freedom that I can spend money wherever I want, right? So 2016, 2018, I was in school. Yes, during that time, I was also traveling. Luckily, like I was able to roam around in 8 states during those 2 years, but never understanding the part of points and miles. It's just basically booking cheapest flight and hop on a plane and then just go. After that, in 2020, I again started traveling more on every other weekend, going somewhere just to accomplish different state, eat local food and everything. That's where I saw something is adding up in my account is points. I'm like, what is that? What is the useful of these points? So journey was completely amazing. So I was in Washington DC before, and then I moved to Texas now in 2020 when COVID actually about to hit. During that time, travel was cheaper. So people were scolding me like, "Hey, you are not aware about your health and everything." I'm like, "Yes, I have a PPE kit, I have a mask and everything, but why not we just go out and travel?" So I took that risk, and luckily, by the blessing of God, it was beneficial for me. So I had a chance to travel and get a good deals on hotel and everything. That's where all the points started, and I started developing my education, like how can I use that? And since then the rest is history.
So you discovered points in 2020. What was your first redemption once you discovered it?
My first redemption, like just booking economy ticket, 40,000 point, from Ahmedabad to Doha, Doha to where I was living in IAD airport, basically during that time, Washington DC. I had American miles stack up around almost 65,000. And I just paid off my loan, so I did not want to increase on my credit card balance. I'm like, you know what? I'm just paying, like during that time, the tax for economy was $25.76, and I'm like 40,000 points redeeming for economy. Out of my pocket is only going 25.76 transaction. Let's make it happen. And that's where I had a goal status during that time. So I got that exit seat in Qatar and on both plane actually, but it was still economy. But I did not pay anything. And during the flight, I was like, if I can book economy and I also pass through that business class, I'm like, oh, this looks good. How can I make it happen here? So whole flight I did that research, and that's where I learned. Okay, you can do that, and journey started.
That's how they always get you, right? They have you cross through that first class or business class to get to your poor seat, and then you start wondering how you can fly. Either you pay more or find these alternative ways.
100% true. So yes, that was my first redemption. It's always beautiful.
So, were you an av geek back then as well? Were you interested in planes and were you looking at different configurations back then as well?
Yes. So I always like in childhood, we have always been asked, what do you want to become as you grow older? My answer during that time was I want to work in NASA. So from those days, I always wanted to be in plane or space. But in India, like we have a transport more available like train, car, bus. So never had a chance to fly. My first flight was itself for the North America. That's what the first time I boarded a plane and I was on plane. So I have that picture outside of Jet Airways, which is not like operating nowadays. If I'm still sitting in a balcony, if the plane goes, I'm like, hey, plane is going. And then I open flight radar. Oh, it's coming from Denver.
I see that you are very interested in plane spotting. I personally was not an av geek before I got into this hobby, and now I'm looking at plane configuration like it's nobody's business, and I am shocked at myself.
No, it's just fun. Like, I mean, the basic thought, like, if you have a very small stone and if you throw in a air, because of the gravity, it will fall down, right? Like, it will come on Earth. But just imagine 500-ton heavy metal bird taking you from one continent to another continent. On the top of that, you are having shower at 39,000 feet. It's engineering marvelous creation, in my opinion. So that's always amazed me. Trust me.
I am now in that list of having a shower at 39,000 feet.
I am having a lot of FOMO in this episode because you both are wearing the QSuites PJs. You're talking about shower. I have flown a few business class flights, but clearly not enough. So I guess I have to catch up.
Let's bring back the conversation to Q Suites and a little bit of personal finance. So, now that we have talked about your first redemption, tell us how you got hooked onto Q Suites.
So I've flown QSuite first time again from Bombay to Doha and Doha to JFK. That was my first redemption. When I was in India for, I guess, housewarming party, I went on weekend and then I knew that I have to work and I have to travel comfortably. And I had 70,000 points in American airline. And during that time, Qatar used to give more space to American airline. I found an availability and then making sure that okay, Bombay to Doha was also A350 and then Doha to JFK was 777. So on a both plane I had a Q suite. That's where it started. I'm like, oof. Even that 3 hour journey was extremely comfortable. They gave food and everything. And then Doha to JFK. So that was my first ever Q suite journey back in time.
Was that also your first business class?
Yes, that was my first business class. That's why like okay, this has set the standard.
Now nothing else feels good because that's the best one that you already flew for the first time.
Exactly. And then my assumption was like, okay, most of plane will have this kind of thing, door and everything. I'm like, where is that?
The same happened with my husband. His first business class was Q Suites, and even on Emirates first class, he was like, the service is not up to par. I felt like the Qatar was better, and shut up.
First world
Uh,
problems or first class
yeah.
problems, I guess.
The moment you experience different airline, different product, you start noticing that part very easily. They haven't given me the refreshing towel. People think like, oh, you are already in business class. Why you are saying this?
You can be grateful and still critical.
Yeah, that's true. I'll use that line now. They'll ask.
I think we should quickly give a primer on what QSuites is. If someone is hearing this term for the first time, we have been referring to that for past few minutes. So we'll, of course, show some pictures taken by Krunal flying QSuites. But for those who are just listening and not watching, can you elaborate what QSuites really is?
For sure. So each airline has like their business class and first class. Qatar comes up with an idea that I want to give my passenger of a first class treatment, but still in a business class as a ticket. So that's where they named their product as a Qatar Suites, and that abbreviation got it combined called Q Suites. So that's their business class product, but the service they provide as more closely to the first class. So having the privacy door, lifeless seat, having the big TV screen where you can attach your USB cable, HDMI cable, you can do coding, play game. So that's whole cabin experience is called as Qatar Q Suite.
One thing to remember for the listeners is that Qatar also has other business class products that are not Q suites. And one of the misfortunes in the points and mild world is called getting Qatar, where you book a Q suite, but you end up on an old business class suite, which I would say it's pretty good on its own right, but of course, probably does not compare to Q suite.
Yeah, another one of those first world problems.
Yeah, but because people have set their assumptions so much that I booked the business class and it's Qatar business class. So I agree to her point. Like when someone says that you have booked Qatar business class, it's not equivalent to that you have booked Q suite. You have to always make sure that plane has that Q suite, and hence you will confirm that okay, you are flying or you will be experiencing Q suite.
So, how do you confirm that?
There are two ways. First, like whatever the flight you have booked using point, you go on a Qatar app and then you just enter that detail that you want to pay as a cash. For an example, you are flying from New York to Doha. That plane has a Q suite, right? So I booked already tickets with my points. So what I'll do is I'll enter the same information, same date of departure, but I won't be enabling the toggle button saying book with Avios. And the moment you hit enter, it's gonna show the price. I know the price is hefty amount. Don't look at that. But on the left side at the bottom, it says Q suite, means that plane has a Q suite configuration. That's how you can confirm one. Secondly, you can confirm there is a website called Aerolopa. And if you browse that website and if you navigate yourself to Qatar business class page, and then you select the plane, over there you can see all the seat configurations and you can find it out that plane has a Qatar Q suite.
So, Krunal, you mentioned using American Airlines miles to book Qatar flights. That's how I booked two suites for my younger brother. But through that experience, I also realized that earning American Airlines miles is not easy. And there are very few travel partners, if any, to transfer points from other programs to American Airlines. So, how do you fly so much in Q Suites? How do you earn those points?
I'll answer first question how to get more miles on American Airlines. So there are two other platforms. First is American Airlines shopping portal. I watched movie recently last week, right? So that was in AMC theater. Usually what people will do, they just go on AMC, purchase tickets, get it done and use their credit card. It might give you 1x or 2x max to max, right? What I did was I went on American Airline e-shopping portal, and over there, I found a giftcard.com that was giving 3x points. So I purchased a gift card of $45. That straight away gives me 3x point over there. So usually you might get 1x or 2x, but then over there I got 3x and I used credit card over there. So I make sure I put extra minute or two, making sure I get maximum point on each transaction, and then making sure it adds up on American Airlines. Secondly, recently I rented a car with the Hertz. So the moment you book your car with the rental on Hertz, they will ask you where you want to deposit all these points. Usually people just select their Hertz account. I don't want point in my Hertz account. It's not gonna useful. Over there, you can also select American Airline and then add your 6-digit American Airline number, frequent fly number, and you will get points over there. And third point for the American Airline specifically, there is another portal called Simply Miles. There was an offer called if you pay your AT&T Wi-Fi bill, we will give you 3,200 points. Okay, I'll sign up with that. I don't want to pay my AT&T Wi-Fi bill straight away using autopay. No, stop there. Go to that portal, click on that button. Eventually, it will redirect you to AT&T, correct? And then just pay your bill. Before that, you were getting 58 points or 100 points. Now you get 3,200 points. So it's big difference. But are you willing to put that extra effort? Yes, I want to fly QSuite. I'll put that extra.
What's the value of those 3,200 American airline miles?
So that depends. If you just 1 cent per point, so it's gonna be like $32. If I want to fly from Dallas to Houston, I can fly that using only 4,000 American airline points. So it depends how you accumulate more points and get maximum value out of it. I would always deny that don't redeem your points domestically unless it required. American airline points has a bigger value when you redeem them on international partners specifically. That's my suggestion.
So is that how you earn all the points for Q Suites, or do you have other tricks up your sleeve?
Yes, I have other tricks. If you transfer during promotional credit card companies, you will save some points over there. If it's requires 70,000, it might now require you only 55,000 points. So yes, you are saving up points.
So, one other point that I want to add, because I am somebody who redeems at a rate faster than she is able to earn. So, recently I have started buying points. And one of the tricks I use for Avios, particularly, and for anybody who is not aware, Qatar is part of the Avios system, along with British Airways, Finnair, Iberia, and it's great because you can basically transfer points between these systems very easily without any hiccups. So during a transfer bonus that Krunal mentioned, so I will transfer maybe 55,000 points from Chase to British Airways, and I'm getting around 70,000 points. And 1 month after I have done that transfer, British Airways allows you the option to boost your points. So you can boost them to 2x or 3x, sometimes even up to 4x at a much lower rate. So you're paying around 1.2 cents per point to do that boost, which is at a much favorable rate as opposed to buying the points. But one thing to remember is you can boost only up to 300,000 points per calendar year. So that's why I do around 70 to 75,000, and then I am probably boosting 4x to meet that 300,000 threshold. It's something if you're comfortable paying money, if you're traveling or using Avios enough, as clearly I end up booking for my family members, I am burning them at a high rate.
Thanks, Shreya, for mentioning that. Now, as British Airways allows to boost your reviews, Qatar Airways, which is also a partner, they are also allowing to boost your reviews. So from your credit card, if you transfer straight away to Qatar, and then you can boost your reviews over there, you can compare the rates. Whichever is cheaper, you can just use that specific program. But now you have a two platform where you can boost your reviews.
I did not know that. That's useful information.
Yeah, I guess recently there has been some change, right? That you cannot use your Qatar account or points to book for family members. So yes, in the past we were able to do that, but recently, Krunal, I saw on Instagram you shared that you flew with your mom on Q Suites. How did you navigate this new rule?
So the change is there are two new rules that if you want to book a QSuite for your friends, their account needs to be open for 30 days at least. And second rule is they have to have flown Qatar Airways or points deposited to Qatar. And if you comply those two rules, then you will be able to fly. Her account is older than, of course, 30 days. And in past, when we have flown Indigo airline or also American airline in past here, we have deposited mile for the Qatar over there as well when we were accumulating points for the Qatar. So because of those two conditions, we were not affected by those two new rules. But if someone is planning to book a QSuite for their friends or family, make sure their account has been open for at least 30 days and their one of the flights deposited to Qatar Airways system. And after that, yes, you, me, or anyone can we book Qatar Airways for our friends. But when it comes to family, I would recommend to add them as a family member. That will also help you.
Phew, that was a lot of information. So let's summarize before we move forward from here. So, talking about earning points, look at shopping portals. For American Airlines, you have the a.a. shopping portal or the Simply Miles. There are other portals as well, like Rakuten or Capital One shopping portal. So before paying for anything online, just make sure that you're looking at these portals to get the highest number of points you can from that transaction. Um, Next, look at the bonuses that are being offered by the banks for transfer. Like Chase offers 20% to British Airways, Avios, or American Express will have transfer bonus at some point. So uh, wisdom says that don't transfer if you don't need those points, but if you already have redemption in mind, then you can use those bonuses to transfer points and get a higher redemption. And then the third point is the boost. Learn the intricacies around the boost program and leverage that to maximize your points.
Okay, so now we have all these points in our accounts, but we have to book the Q Suites. I am sure you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves on how to go about doing that. So why don't you get started?
I mean, there are a couple of platforms. Like one of the simplest is yes, you can log in into QatarAirways.com, add your information, add your date of departure, and always make sure that you do one way. Don't do round trip. Reason behind that, if you do round trip and if they don't have availability even one way, they won't show at all. And once you find dates for both, you can just enter round trip and you can book that. So that is very simplest.
But when I log in, I see that the redemption options are 140,000 or something crazy amounts of points are needed. So I don't have that much points. You were telling me that you redeemed for 70,000. So how did you do that?
That's very fantastic question. So in Qatar Airways, there are two options. One is called Saver and one is called Flexi. Those two terms. So Saver, or what availability is basically, they are offering a flight from San Francisco to Doha at a 70,000 point. But same flight, if it's marked as a flexi, you have to pay 140,000 points. And if you're flying or extending your flight to India, that will become 160,000, as you mentioned, right? So now, to answer your question, if you are departing from San Francisco to Doha to Bombay, and if you are getting a flight of 160,000 points, why don't you go to Delhi? Why don't you go to Bangalore? Or why don't you go to like somewhere Nagpur or Ahmedabad, right? Wherever the Qatar flies in, and then take a next connecting flight. And then, of course, there is a tool available made by engineers, I believe. It's called Seats.aero. You can go there, drop down the Q Suite option on the top right corner over there, and that's where you can see all the airports departing from North America to Doha, 70,000 points. If you are seeing that, there are highly chances that same available on Qatar or British Airways, because Saver will be offered on all their partners. You can please go ahead and book them immediately. Don't waste your time. So that will be the best and efficient and easy way to confirm that your flight is available at the Saver rate.
Right. But I believe that requires some flexibility. And my husband says he does not want to fly for 6 hours from San Francisco to JFK to fly to India then for another 14 hours. So I told him that then you have to book your flight 1 year in advance. Does that make sense to you?
That's true. So most of airline will release their seats 330 to 355 days in advance. Next question might be like, we don't have that much timeline or advance. We are not planning. Yes, it's only required $25 cancellation fee. I would consider as an investment. If your plan gets cancelled out, go ahead and cancel. You will get all your points back to your Qatar account or British account.
It definitely requires planning for sure. And I am someone who cannot plan 1 year in advance. Um, Sometimes because of visa reasons, if it is a international flight, but also domestically, I'm typically not sure if I'll be able to take that trip. So, Krunal, do you have some tips for someone like me who cannot plan 1 year in advance?
Qatar has always a behavior where they will release a seat like 10 to 12 hours before their departure time. So let's say if you are planning to fly tomorrow, I can confirm right now that there is an availability outbound of JFK to Doha, 70,000 points. You can book straight away, like right now. So that's my option for you, gentlemen, that 12 hours, I guess 48 hours would be enough time take a look and then just book that flight. And then, yes, you have to reposition yourself from your location to JFK or whichever available. You can take that because next 14 hours, you want to make sure that you are lying in a flat bed, sleeping like a baby. So I would do that for 3 hours to trade my 14 hours.
Once flown 48 hours just to fly in business class. So I am totally on board with that.
I know, right? That must be one of the most happiest 48 hours of your life.
100%.
Eat, sleep, and repeat.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of treating journey as destination almost, that I will fly only because the experience on flight and sometimes on ground as well is that great. I think some of us here have player twos in the game who are a bit reluctant.
Okay, so now we know how to earn those points and hopefully burn those points. So if you use this episode to book yourself a Q Suites, drop a comment below, share your success story with us, and we'll celebrate along with you. So I know we have been talking a lot about points, but one misconception that a lot of people have, primarily from all these viral reels, is that points is basically free travel. So what are your comments on that, Krunal?
I would say close to free travels because you have to pay taxes. So, for an example, if you are flying, you and your partner, you will be paying around $500 as a taxes. And now just trade off like when I was flying from Doha to JFK per person, it was 6,000 flight cash. So 6,000 to 500.
But would you have paid that 6,000 is my question.
If I'm earning $1 million, then I might if I don't have options. So hopefully in future, but not now.
That's my slight hot take, is that you actually have to spend reasonably well to be able to be flying these business classes all the time. So your expenditure has to be at a certain level.
This is something that we have iterated in the past episodes, and we will continue to add in the future episodes as well. That points and miles only works if you are financially responsible, you're not overspending just to earn points, and you keep an eye on your credit report and make sure that your credit is always in the clear, which means never carry any credit card debt unless it's 0% on business cards. Topic for another episode.
What is your mindset around budgeting? How do you spend, and how is your spending helping you with this points game?
Being coming from a family or state which in India it's called Gujarat, where most of people are in business, they make sure that they spend their money wisely. So not following any specific budgeting style yet. I know that if I'm earning $100, I will be only like spending $50. $30 I'll be making sure that I have as a my saving, and $20, oh, I haven't earned that will be going for my emergency fund, as simple as that. So that's what we have been taught, and at the same time we have been taught try to make more money out of your money.
That's great. Okay, Krunal, if people want to connect with you more and seek your advice on booking different business and first classes around the world, how do they get to you?
They can reach out to simply on Instagram. I'll do my best to respond them as early as possible, but yes, it will take some time because if I'm traveling I cannot respond.
If you want to reach out to us, we are Green Mango Finance on every podcast, Instagram, and YouTube. See you for the next episode.